What is going on YouTube? Running Good Sports back here with another video. Today is our Arizona Cardinals off-season review. We've been punching videos out left and right. Really just a ton of videos we've been posting lately. And it's that time of the year where we'll be posting a lot. So we're excited to post a bunch of content for you guys. As always, if you have not already subscribed to this video, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, follow, share with your friends, and also follow our social media pages at runningun_sports on Instagram and at runningunsports on TikTok, and talking about the Arizona Cardinals. So let's get right into it with the Arizona Cardinals 2020 record being 8-8. And I really think that the Cardinals, when you think of the Arizona Cardinals, I don't think you think of a 500 team. I truthfully think of a team above 500. And so them being 500, it doesn't seem very, like their record is not who they say they are, big time. And I don't see the Cardinals being a 500 team. I definitely think they're better than that. But all but three losses were to non-playoff teams: the Detroit Lions, the Carolina Panthers, and the Miami Dolphins, New England Patriots, and San Francisco 49ers. And the three losses that were to non-playoff playoff teams were the Seattle Seahawks and the Los Angeles Rams. They lost to the Rams twice. Two teams that were in their division, the NFC West, as I mentioned before. A very tough division for anyone to be in, probably the toughest division in football right now. And you have 50% more of a chance to lose to one of the divisional teams than you will to anyone else. And the Rams are a good team, and their defense, I just think, is too much for that offense, and that's the case for a lot of teams. And they're a really talented team, and I'm excited to see what they'll do in the next year or two. But if you give the Arizona Cardinals the benefit of the doubt and give them the Detroit Lions game, a game that I think that they should easily win, and the Carolina Panthers game, another game that they should have won with ease, I think. And I think that the Dolphins, that's a loss that makes sense. But the New England Patriots, it normally would be a loss that I would say, you're okay with taking just because of Bill Belichick, obviously, and the team's not terrible. But at the same time, that game came down to a late hit out of bounds, and it was a very close game for the Cardinals. And so that's why I'm not going to give them that game. But you can make a very good argument for it. And San Francisco is a divisional game, so you expect them to lose games to their rivals, and they split the series with them this season. But if you give them those two games, the Detroit Lions game and the Carolina Panthers game, they're sitting at 10-6. That is not bad at all. That's way better than 8-8 for sure. And if you give them the Patriots game, if you want to give them the Patriots game, then they're at 11-5, which is only one game behind the Seattle Seahawks. And so you look at it as it all comes down to winning the games that they should have won. And they did not do that, unfortunately, and that's why they did not make the playoffs. And if they had beaten the Rams in the final game of the season, then I think that they would have had a pretty big chance of making the playoffs, but obviously did not. And that's their fault, and it all comes down to coaching. Cliff Kingsbury has not done well with the talent he has. He has Larry Fitzgerald, he has Kyler Murray, he's had Kenyon Drake and DeAndre Hopkins, and he's had a good team. And so for them to not do well, in games that they should win, definitely comes down to coaching, and there's no argument against it. Cliff Kingsbury is just overrated, and he's not a good coach for the NFL. He might be a great college coach, but NFL and college is a lot different. And, he's had Patrick Mahomes, arguably the greatest quarterback right now, probably the greatest quarterback right now in the NFL, and he didn't do anything with him. I mean, they did mediocre at Texas Tech, and that guy is making Super Bowls every year now. So I just think that Cliff Kingsbury is not as good as a coach as he really is. He was all over Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray has been pretty good, but he's been nothing more than elite. He's not a superstar or anything like that. I mean, he's been great, but he hasn't been awesome. And I think that you don't need to have an awesome quarterback, but you're going to need to have an awesome quarterback if you're going to want to win 11 or 10 football games and make the playoffs. Most of the teams in the playoffs this past season all had great quarterbacks, and hence why the two best teams facing off in the Super Bowl had all-time great quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time. And so it just makes sense, and I don't blame it on Kyler Murray at all. I just think I blame it on Cliff Kingsbury for the coaching. I think Kyler Murray's a very special talent, but with the right coaching, I think he could be a whole lot better than he is. And I don't like the way that their offenses ran. I really think that there should be more run plays for Kyler Murray. There's not many run plays for Kyler Murray, and a lot of his running is from scrambling. It's not designed quarterback runs or anything like that. And I think if you put that in there and gave him a chance to make some plays with his legs, then they'd have a little more success on the offensive side of the ball, and they wouldn't have to worry about having a good running back, which they haven't had in a while. They have had a good running back, but they just haven't had a consistent running back. And point A is losing Kenyon Drake this season in the offseason, which we'll talk about soon. But you know, I think that Cliff Kingsbury is definitely on the hot seat. You look at his record with the Arizona Cardinals, 5 seasons, 35-40. That's a losing record, and you know maybe they're satisfied with their head coach having a losing record. If you put it into a 10 season career, we'll say for Cliff Kingsbury, that's a .422 winning percentage, which is not good at all, below 500. And 70-80 would be the record after 10 seasons, and that's just not good. That's meh. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not good. And it's not good. It's not great. It's not terrible, but it's just meh. It's not nothing really. And if they want to have a mediocre season, then keep Cliff Kingsbury by all means. But if they want to make the playoffs, Cliff Kingsbury's not the answer. And the record doesn't lie. And if I think of a team and think of them to be better than the record is, then that comes down to the coaching 100%. And 8-8 is just not good. I mean, this is a playoff quality team with the right coaching, and why Cliff Kingsbury can't get it done, I don't know. But he's definitely on the hot seat this season. And if they go 8-8 again, I think that there's a very large chance of him being fired. If they don't make the playoffs again, I don't think there's a large chance of him being hired. Excuse me. I think there's a large chance of him being fired. But despite that, you compare it to the competitive division that they're in, and that adds a whole nother aspect. Maybe Cliff Kingsbury can't coach in the NFL. Maybe he's just not, you know, can't deal with the pressure, because Sean McVay is on pace to pass up Pete Carroll in winning percentage, and right now he's at .672. Granted, Sean McVay has had less seasons in the NFL. Pete Carroll right now, 11 years in the NFL, .606 winning percentage, and then you have Kyle Shanahan, .453 winning percentage, which is obviously not great because it's below 500, but I do think Kyle Shanahan has had to deal with a lot of rebuilding and some injuries, and where Cliff Kingsbury, he came into his first season in the NFL with his star quarterback that he picked out with the first overall pick in the NFL draft. And so I think that Kyle Shanahan definitely gets the benefit of the doubt for me. And give him a couple of years and nothing's changed, then definitely we will talk about that. And you know, maybe he's mediocre, but I just don't see that from Kyle Shanahan at all. We look at the free agency. The Cardinals had one of the more busiest free agencies that any NFL team had this season. Start out with some of the players that they picked up. They picked up wide receiver A.J. Green from the Bengals, defensive tackle J.J. Watt from the Texans, Malcolm Butler, cornerback from the Titans, and Rodney Hudson, center from the Raiders, and James Conner, running back from the Steelers. And then we'll look at some of the losses that they had. They didn't have too many big losses, but these are some of the notable ones. Patrick Peterson, cornerback to the Vikings. Kenyon Drake, running back to the Raiders. So, couple of losses, but some big gains. But a lot of veteran guys, and I think that that's going to help them, especially with the lack of coaching that's going on in Arizona right now. And so I think that will, but veterans are veterans, and they're not young. They don't have too many years left in the tank. The Arizona Cardinals are ranked number 32 in average age in the NFL at 27.47 average years of age for each player on the team. The average in the league average for player age is 26.05. So the Arizona Cardinals are a whole age and almost a half higher than the NFL league average, which at the end of the day is not bad at all, but it also tells you that they really have 1, maybe 2 years at the most to have a good deep run and a chance at the Super Bowl. And then at number 31 is the Buffalo Bills. So moving on now, we're going to talk about the Cardinals draft class. And they took a lot of heat for their first round pick, Zaven Collins, linebacker from Tulsa. And I don't think it's a bad pick at all. I'd rather pick a guy that is needed than a guy that is not needed in the first round. And, you'd rather reach for a guy that's needed than reach for a guy that's not needed. Example A, the Seattle Seahawks picking up a wide receiver in their earliest pick in the draft when they have plenty of talent at the wide receiver position. The Arizona Cardinals, who have a very talented wide receiving core, A.J. Green, DeAndre Hopkins, and Larry Fitzgerald, picked up Rondale Moore, wide receiver from Purdue, a guy that I really like. And I think that that's a very good pick for when, Larry Fitzgerald is gone, which will be pretty soon. And, so good pick by the Cardinals there. Round 4, they picked up Marco Wilson, cornerback from Florida. And that's really their main signings. A couple other defensive ends. And they got a defensive end, a cornerback, a safety, and a center. So overall, I like those 3 picks. And 2021 projection for the Cardinals, 12-4. And I'd be a lot more confident in this projection if Cliff Kingsbury wasn't, so inconsistent, and I'm not ready to put my trust into him yet. And we'll see. He's hasn't done well for them, and so nothing right now makes me think that he will anytime soon. So we'll see how that goes. I think that they could possibly win the division, but Cliff Kingsbury does gotta do some stuff pretty quickly to not get fired next season. So that will wrap it up for today's video. If you guys have not already, please leave a like down below, subscribe, and share this with your friends. Thank you guys so much for watching.